Hello and welcome to all! From a fan of FC Barcelona throwing a head at Figo, to fans invading the pitch like locusts, to poor players receiving firecrackers in the face, here are the 10 soccer moments where the fans went too far. In Denmark, soccer is a real religion, and Danish fans are the true apostles. Nicknamed the Rolligans, these festive Vikings are the pride of their national team and their country, thanks to their fair play and unconditional support of their team. The Rolligans are considered among the best supporters in the world, so much so that they even received the prestigious UNESCO Fair Play Award, which was given to them for their incredible dedication during the Euro 1984. But it must be said that sometimes, even the most disciplined supporters on the planet are likely to be inflamed at the slightest spark. On this sequence, you will attend a pyrotechnical show for the least spectacular, but which could have quickly turned to the disaster. Indeed, during a match played at the Brøndby Stadium, some of the fans lit their smoke bombs at the same time, which literally created a fire tornado. The stands almost went up in flames, which could have ended in a real tragedy. But fortunately for the arsonists, there were no fires, thanks to the vigilance and efficiency of the Danish stadium security services. But the smoke was so dense that the soccer players had to wait for long minutes before starting to play because the visibility was almost zero. The Spanish Clasico is a unique footballing spectacle that brings together two mythical clubs that face each other with the rage to win. It is also a condensed version of tensions and provocations, more or less bitter and cruel, that everyone undergoes at the same time, both the players and the public. But, of course, there are limits that must never be crossed, because by doing so, the one who would flout them would only show how non-existent his principles are. And that's exactly what happened almost 20 years ago in a Clasico with the taste of bile, played on November 23, 2002 at the Camp Nou. The game started well, and despite the score being tied, there was no lack of chances. A corner was conceded to Madrid in the 25th minute, and it was the legendary number 10 of Real, the Portuguese Luis Figo, who was chosen to convert it. But as the striker took position to kick the ball, a rain of projectiles sent by the Barca fans began to rain on his head. In the blink of an eye, the turf around Figo was littered with litter, lighters, cans, and even hard glass whiskey bottles. Witnesses to the scene say they saw golf balls and even knives on the ground that day. But the ultimate horror was undoubtedly the decapitated head of a pig, which a degenerate psychopath had thrown directly at Figo. Fortunately, the Portuguese striker was not hit by any of these projectiles, but the match was interrupted for a good 15 minutes to ensure that there was no further danger to the poor footballer. Throwing bottles and cans is quite common in soccer stadiums, especially when it is a crucial match where tensions are heightened to the highest point. But on this sequence, the projectile thrown is of a completely different nature, since it is literally a small plane made of paper. This surreal scene took place at the Wembley Stadium during a friendly match opposing the national team of England against its Peruvian counterpart. The match was in progress, but up there in the stands, a fan of origami and the English national team was preparing an imminent takeoff. The young man launched the paper jet that he had carefully made himself, and which glided with such grace that it looked like a fighter plane, and indeed like a MiG-39. The paper plane started to dive, aiming directly at the head of one of the Peruvian players, and hit him head-on. La Liga is far from being a racist league, and almost all the Spanish fans are good people who like to play fairly and respectfully. However, it happens that people who have nothing to do with sport and its values interfere in the middle of the public, in order to spit their poison with discretion and impunity. The example you will see on this sequence dates back to 2014, during a La Liga match between FC Barcelona and Villarreal. In the 76th minute of the match, Brazilian international Daniel Alves came forward to take a corner kick for his team. But just as he was about to kick the ball, an enraged fan threw a banana at him, which fell right at his feet. This racist gesture could certainly have destabilized the player, but it must be said that Daniel Alves is far from being a small nature. Indeed, where some players would have reacted more violently, the Brazilian defender decided to eat the banana, probably to fill a small hollow in his stomach. A gesture whose significance will not have escaped anyone, and which will remain forever engraved in the history of world soccer. We continue on our selection of the 10 moments of soccer where the fans went too far, with this sequence for the least disturbing. These surprising images come from France, more precisely from a match of French League 2, having opposed the Toulouse Football Club against the Chamois Niortais. During this match, Toulouse won by 2-0, but their victory was even more symbolic as it allowed them to make a triumphant return to League 1. The Toulouse public was agitated with a hysterical frenzy, and some fans wanted to enter the field to greet the players. But the problem was that there were not only 2 or 3, but hundreds of spectators who had the same idea. A security cordon was quickly deployed by stadium officials, but as you can see, it was quickly overwhelmed by the wave of fans. The fans poured in like a living tsunami, entering the field by the hundreds. Fortunately, most of them were motivated by joy, so there was no damage. We stay in France with this rather explosive sequence, and this time from a League 1 match. We are at the 29th minute of the match between FC Metz and Olympique Lyonnais, and the goalkeeper of OL has just been injured. But at the moment when the medical team of the stadium is given him the first care of use, a malicious spectator thought good to throw a firecracker in the middle of this small world. The small explosive will explode near the portkeeper, who was already injured and who would certainly have done well without this additional blow. Indeed, the firecracker slightly burned the unfortunate goalkeeper at the level of knees and thighs, making him literally squirm with pain. Fortunately for him, the footballer will get out of it with light burns and some bruises that he will be able to overcome and forget without any great problems. And never two without three, as the popular saying goes, with this incredible video that also comes from the League 1. During a colorful match between OM and Stade de Reims, take a good look at this little rascal wearing a backpack with the colors of Marseille, because what he is going to do next will surprise you. Taking advantage of a moment of inattention by the stadium guards, this young boy jumped the barriers and ran full speed ahead on the field, running faster than his shadow. The little boy reached his favorite Marseille player, the goalkeeper Steven Mandanda, and took him affectionately in his arms. The goalkeeper of the OM will, however, not scold this rascal. On the contrary, preferring to embrace him in his turn in his arms. The Marseille goalkeeper will even go as far as to signal to the stadium agents who came to get the boy out of the grass, not to brutalize him or be violent with him. A true gentleman, this Mandanda. For the following sequence, we will take you to the eastern countries where the fans are known for their excesses in terms of alcoholic drinks. Here we are in Russia during a match between Spartak Moscow and Saturn. And while the match was going well, the referee whistled a penalty for Spartak. At the same time, somewhere in the stands, two young Russians literally soaked in vodka decided that the penalty should not be missed, at the risk of seeing their favorite club lose face. Galvanized by alcohol and the rage to win, they rushed onto the field almost out of nowhere. The bigger of the two then hit the ball with force, sending it directly into the top corner, in the manner of the great players. The two alcoholics then celebrated their goal as they should, under the stunned eyes of the footballers and the entire stadium audience. And as always, on your favorite YouTube channel, we've saved the best for last, with a sequence that you won't soon forget, because the images you are about to see show us that the most enraged fans are capable of anything to support their team, including having fun trying to literally blind the players of the opposing team so that they miss their shots. The scene takes place during the final of the World Cup playoffs, opposing the national selection of Egypt to its Senegalese counterpart. After a first game in Egypt where the phenomenon had already been observed, this time from the Egyptians, the Senegalese supporters, to take revenge, had introduced a large quantity of lasers to dazzle the pharaohs. The match, which took place at the brand new stadium of Diamniadio in Senegal, had attracted thousands of Senegalese who came en masse to support their team. An ultra-festive atmosphere reigned in the stands, especially since Senegal had just scored a goal that allowed them to touch the qualification of the fingertips. The country had indeed lost by 1-0 in the first game, and this goal scored by the young Boulaye Dia allowed Senegal to put the clocks back on time in Dakar. But in front of a very pugnacious Egyptian defense, the legal time of the match will be reached, and the two teams will finally have to decide in a penalty shootout. Although used throughout the game, the penalty shootout would be the ultimate opportunity for Senegalese fans to perfect their aiming skills in front of helpless Egyptian strikers like Mohamed Salah. What had to happen happened. The Egyptians missed their qualification ticket for the World Cup, and the Senegalese, rightly or wrongly, gave a good lesson of reciprocity to their Egyptian brothers. And that's it for today. What do you think of these 10 senseless moments of soccer, where the fans really went too far? Which of them impressed you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to put a like and subscribe and activate the notifications. See you soon for new discoveries out of the ordinary.